Yes, welcome to all of you. Already we have done high performance liquid chromatography part 1. Now here in this session we will try to cover remaining points, that is part 2. As you know, we have seen different techniques under liquid chromatography based on stationary phase and mobile phase. Then column chromatography, what will be overall flow, in what way sample can be added, what is the eluent, eluate and elution process. Then in part 1, we have seen core part, what is a normal and reverse phase chromatographic technique based on stationary phase and mobile phase, and what will be elution pattern in normal phase as well as reverse phase chromatographic technique. Another important point we had covered, that surface modification of silica gel, why it is required and in what way normal silica gel gets converted into C8 or C18 column and playing role as a reverse phase column. Then another important aspect, that is why there is a need for high pressure in liquid chromatography. Then components, already we have done solvent reservoir and degassing system. In solvent reservoir, we have seen what is isocratic elution and gradient elution. And in degassing, to remove air or oxygen dissolved if present in the mobile phase, and there are 4 ways to remove associated air or oxygen, and these are by filtration under vacuum, by distillation, by ultrasonication, and by sparging of an inert gas of low solubility. So dear learners, today we are talking about pumps used in HPLC. Once a suitable mobile phase is selected, it is to be passed under pressure to the column with the help of pump. And the most HPLC pumps have an output of at least 1000 psi and preferably 4000 to 6000 psi. PSI is a unit, that is pounds per square inch, with a flow delivery rate of at least 3 ml per minute. The pumps used in HPLC should satisfy general conditions, such as they should generate pressure in the range of 4000 to 6000 psi. They should provide a continuous or pulse-free flow of the mobile phase. They should produce the flow rate ranging from 0.1 to 10 ml per minute. They should provide the flow control and flow reproducibility of 0.5% or better. And they should have corrosion resistant components made up of stainless steel or Teflon. The high pressure generated by HPLC pumps doesn't constitute an explosion hazard because liquids are not very compressible. Thus, the rupture of components of the system results only in the solvent leakage, and such a leakage may constitute a fire hazard. There are types of pumps commonly employed in HPLC, and these are reciprocating pump, syringe or displacement type of pumps, and pneumatic or constant pressure pumps. So we will see individual pump, its construction, working, advantages and disadvantages. So first of all, we will see reciprocating pumps. The majority of the commercially available HPLC system make use of the reciprocating pumps. As you are observing in figure, this pump consists of a piston provided by in a syringe type of chamber. The chamber is connected to two ball check valves on two ends. The check valves open and close alternatively. The solvent is in direct contact with the piston. In working, when the piston is drawn at the back, means towards back side, the ball check valves, that is 1 and 2, 1 and 2, occupy the positions A and B respectively. The mobile phase flows from the solvent reservoir into chamber 1, but not in a chamber 2. And when the piston direction is reversed, that is the check valves occupy the positions A dash and B dash respectively. At this stage, the mobile phase from chamber 1 enters the chamber 2 from this side to in a chamber 2. The volume of the mobile phase discharged from the pump per unit time can be changed by changing the distance that the piston travels. So based on distance of this piston, amount of mobile phase will vary. When the piston is withdrawn, again the fresh mobile phase enters the chamber 1. The valve 2 comes at the position B, but still the mobile phase from chamber 2 doesn't enter the column, since there is a no force to push it. Again, when the piston direction is reversed, the mobile phase from chamber 1 enters into chamber 2, which pushes the mobile phase already present in a chamber 2 to the column. Thus, when the mobile phase enters chamber 1, there is a no mobile phase going out in the column. When the mobile phase is entering the column, chamber 1 is empty. And this is the reason for the pulsed flow of the mobile phase in the reciprocating pumps. The drawback can be overcome of this reciprocating pump by two ways. The first solution is to reduce the time of filling, and this reduces the dead time between the cycles. And another way is to provide a dual piston pump. For example, this is a single piston. To provide dual piston pump, and with this arrangement, when one piston of the pump is moving back, another piston moves in the forward direction. This reduces the pulsation in the flow, since one head is filling while the other is discharging. The use of a dual piston pump in combination with a rapid filling phase almost eliminates the pulsation. So what will be advantages of this reciprocating pumps? The internal value of the reciprocating pump is small, that is around 35 to 400 microliter. This is of importance especially in case of gradient dilution. As you know, gradient means what? That is more than one solvent as a mobile phase, which requires removal of one mobile phase from the pump before the introduction of another one. And because of the small internal volume, the changeover from one mobile phase to the other can be achieved fast. The reciprocating pumps provide high output pressure up to 1000 psi, and they provide a constant flow rate of the mobile phase, which is independent of the column back pressure and solvent viscosity. Now in disadvantages, the reciprocating pumps produce a pulse flow. If proper measures are not taken, the pulse flow from these pumps is not considered to be a major drawback. And since a pulse flow can be easily converted to pulse free flow, so that's why These are the some points we can cover as a disadvantage part of such kind of the pumps. Then in case of syringe type or displacement type of pumps, as you are observing in figure, this is a chamber, this is a piston, this is a screw, this is a stepping motor, this is a voltage supplier. In displacement type of pumps, a piston or a plunger inside the chamber can move to and fro with the help of screw drive feed connected to a stepping motor. In displacement type of pumps, all the mobile phase is contained within the chamber of a pump. The electric supply to the stepping motor allows a continuous and uniform movement of screw, which brings about uniform movement of a piston inside the chamber. This makes possible delivery of fixed volume of the mobile phase to the pump. The flow rate of the mobile phase or the volume displaced by the pump per unit time depends on the voltage applied to the stepping motor. In advantages, we can quote displacement pumps produce a pulse-free flow since the continuous and uniform movement of the stepping motor with the help of screw which delivers the mobile phase continuously to the column. In these pumps, the flow rate is independent of the back pressure in the column and viscosity of the mobile phase. Whereas in disadvantage, the internal volume of this pump is sufficiently high so as to replace it by another solvent. Hence, this pump is not suitable for gradient kind of illusion. Next pump is about pneumatic pumps. Here you are observing in diagram, here compressed air. This is a collapsible bag containing mobile phase enclosed in metallic container, and this mobile phase is going under pressure. As you are observing, it consists of collapsible bag containing a mobile phase, isn't it? So compressed gas is passed from the inlet into the metallic container. This squeezes the collapsible container and allows the mobile phase to come out from the outlet. Pneumatic pumps are very simple in construction and hence they are cheap. They provide pulse-free flow of the mobile phase. Whereas in disadvantage, we can quote, in these pumps, the flow of the mobile phase depends on its viscosity and also on the back pressure in the column. The pressure provided by these pumps is less than 2000 psi, and such kind of the pumps are not useful for gradient illusion. Then we will move on next component, that is sample injection system. Two types of valves are most common in HPLC, which enable the introduction of a fixed volume of the sample accurately in the column. And these are rotary sampling valve and slider valve. As you know, the sensitivity of an HPLC technique is very high. Hence, it is absolutely essential to introduce an accurate quantity of sample in the column, which can provide reproducibility in the results. The sample injection system is used to introduce a fixed volume of the sample solution into the mobile phase while injecting the sample into the column. Then we will try to see what it is exactly rotary sampling valve and slider valve. In rotary sampling valve, just try to understand over here. This is a sample in, and here loops we will consider based on overall arrangement, that is eluent in, eluent to the column. The first one is filling mode. This component is called as a filling mode, and this B component is called as a loading mode. So in what way sample gets injected in a column, that we are try to explore the things now. So in rotary sampling wall, the functioning of a rotary wall can be explained very well with these two modes, mode A and mode B. The vertical line in this particular figure, whatever you are observing, this vertical line indicates the original position of wall. When the wall is in this position, the sample solution is filled in it, and this is called as a filling mode of a rotary wall. When the knob in the wall is rotated by an angle of 45 degree, as indicated in this figure, the sample enters an analytical column, and this is the loading mode of rotary wall. In the filling mode of the wall, that is point number a sample solution is introduced from one end. The excess solution drains out from the other end. The loop ABDC, that is A, B, D and C, contains a fixed volume of the sample solution. Another loop, that is EF, contains mobile phase which passes through the column. Thus, in the filling mode, the sample solution and the mobile phase are passing through two separate loops, that is ABDC and EF. The wall is then rotated by 45 degree. This makes changes in the internal connections, thereby connecting points A and C and D and F and point E and B. These connections results into two new loops, and these are EBDF and AC. The formation of new loop, that is EBDF, makes possible the mixing of the stream of the sample with the mobile phase and disconnects the original circuit. The excess sample solution is now present in the loop AC, which is separated from another loop. Thus, a fixed and reproducible volume of the sample is introduced in the mobile phase, which goes to the column. In slider wall, as you are observing in figure, a slider wall consists of two vertical chambers, that is A and B, enclosed in a container. The chamber A for the sample solution is connected on one side to the sample reservoir and on the other side to the pump, which draws sample solution into the sample chamber A. The chamber for the sample solution has a small aperture on its right side, as you are observing, which opens up only if the pressure is applied on it. Another chamber B is for the mobile phase. It is connected on one side to the mobile phase reservoir and on the other side to an analytical column. The chamber for the mobile phase has a small aperture on its left side. This aperture is closed under normal conditions, but opens up only if the pressure is applied on it. The chamber A containing the sample solution can be pushed towards chamber B containing the mobile phase with the help of slider. In working, the main use of slider valve is to introduce a fixed and reproducible volume of the sample solution into the column. The sample is drawn in a chamber A by means of syringe. The mobile phase is continuously passing through chamber B. When the slider is moved from left to right, a sample chamber A is pushed on the chamber B containing the mobile phase. Due to the pressure put up by the chamber A on the chamber B, the temperature of the diaphragms of both the chambers increases, which results in the expansion of apertures on both the chambers. And this allows entry of a sample from chamber A into chamber B. A fixed volume of the sample is thus mixed with the mobile phase, which enters an analytical column for the separation. The slider is then moved towards left so that the sample chamber A moves away from chamber B. When pressure on the aperture is released, they reseal and get closed. The fixed volume of the sample, which is accommodated by chamber A, is introduced into the column, and the walls holding volumes from 2 to 100 microliter are available. So hope, dear students, you got about sample injection system, what is a rotary sampling valve, construction working, as well as slider valve. So in next class, we will try to see the remaining components of HPLC.